Well, the process for me in terms of educating myself on vaccines really came through reading a lot of information, talking to people who have been in this fight and in this community for a long time. But as a journalist, when you're trying to cover something like this, it's very difficult for a number of reasons. And one of the reasons for that is groupthink, because there is this assumption that if you cover a certain subject, you're obviously taking a position on it, you're taking a side on it. And as a journalist, that should never be true. No matter what issue you cover as a journalist, it should not be based upon your own preference or your own opinion. And so, as a lot of journalists will look at this story, and they're told, well, listen, those people are crazy. There's all these anti-vaxxers out there, and if you do anything that indicates that you're among them or you're one of them, it discredits you. Now, what's just completely nonsensical about that is if we cover terrorism, if we cover ISIS, that doesn't make us a part of ISIS. If we say, hey, let's take a look at how ISIS formed in the first place, that doesn't make you a terrorist or a suicide bomber. And yet if you say, well, let's take a look at what these people are talking about when it comes to vaccination, they'll say, oh, wait, that makes you anti-vax. Right? It's a very bizarre thing. And I think what it really comes down to is it comes down to influence. There's a concerted effort to smear or demonize anyone who raises questions in this arena. It's been very effective. And it's combined between the smear campaign, but along with the ability of big pharma, which contributes enormous amounts of money in terms of advertisement and advertising that goes to TV networks. They have a lot of influence, and they have influence with what makes the air and what doesn't. And so ultimately, I think as a journalist, yes, it's difficult. It's difficult to cover a story like this. But again, what we did with the Dr. Thompson piece wasn't about questioning the validity of vaccines. It wasn't questioning the validity of whether or not you should have your child vaccinated. We weren't even going there. The issue is what we're being told by the CDC true? Because if it's not true, then we need to question everything they've been telling us. And I think that comes down to a myriad of issues where we can look at and say, if government is lying to us about any of these things, then we have to question them on everything.